Welcome to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the largest grassroots advocacy network for people with mental illness and their family members, with over 800 national affiliates and 13 Kansas affiliates, with NAMI Wichita being one of those 13. We provide awareness, support, education, and advocacy for people affected by mental illness. Our purpose here is to provide a community conversation on KSUN Radio that gives insight into what it's like to live with a mental illness. Our intention and hope is that our program will change attitudes, assumptions, and stereotypes about people with mental health conditions, and in so doing, we will stop the stigma associated with mental illness. My name is David Larson. I'm very pleased and proud to be your host today, and I'm a person living with mental illness. I'm in recovery for major depressive disorder. Like everyone, I struggle with the ups and downs of emotions and the challenges of being fully human, but I am doing great. And I know I have many gifts to offer my family, my friends, and my community. Now, before I get too far in the program, I want to introduce Kara, my co-host. Hello, Kara.
Hello, David. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. And our technical producer is Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, David.
Thank you all for being with us here today. And let me introduce our guest now, and that is Patrick. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Good.
Okay, well, I'm going to start out with our catch-all question of every episode, and that is, what high school did you go to, and what was their mascot?
It was the independent school. The mascot is the Panther.
The Panther, okay. And where was the independent school at?
It's at Douglas and West Parkway, right by the Quick Trip off
Okay.
of Central.
So you grew up here in Wichita?
Yeah.
All right, so you're a Wichita native.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so let's hear it for the Panthers. Woo! All right.
Go Panthers.
Yes, go
Go
Panthers.
Panthers.
So now I asked you this beforehand, but I'm going to ask it to you again. What is your diagnosis?
Schizoaffective disorder.
Okay, and help our listeners understand what that means. That's schizophrenia, right?
Yeah, it's symptoms of schizophrenia, which is detachment from reality through psychosis, and manic depression, which is bipolar.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a manic psychosis sort of a deal.
Okay, all right. And when were you diagnosed?
Spring of 2011.
Okay. Now, you told me that diagnosis wasn't immediate per se, or rather, they didn't tell you immediately what that was.
Yeah, I think they knew what it was. They just never told me, which I know sounds strange.
Well, yeah, it is strange, but
Yeah.
but how did that make you feel that when you found out that you had schizoaffective?
Well, I just don't like the word schizo because it makes me feel like I'm like nuts or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and it just I don't know, the detachment from reality. You know, is kind of hard to kind of have that label that you're detached. You know, that you don't think normally. Or you don't
Okay. That you can't trust your brain.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, well, let me go back to some easier questions. Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I play chess. I play music, and I'm really gifted with Legos.
Awesome. Well, I wanna zero in on your music because I love music. And do you write music?
Yeah, yes.
Awesome. What instruments do you play?
Guitar and bass.
Guitar and bass. Awesome. All right. Sounds like we need to have a band starting or something.
Maybe.
Who knows? So, what instrument do you want to play, Kara? Keyboard?
Keyboard or digital, something digital.
Something digital. Fair enough. All right. Well, what else can I ask you here? Do you happen to have any pets?
Yeah, I have a pit lab mix named Rudy and a bearded dragon named George.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
George the Dragon. That sounds ironic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that why he has the name George?
Yeah, it just seemed cute.
Okay. Well, and then your lab, what did you say, Rudy?
Yeah, Rudy. He's a pit lab mix.
Pet lab mix.
Yeah, he's
All
a
right.
rescue.
Well, sounds like an awesome dog, though.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
That's
amazing.
great. I love dogs. I have to sort of live vicariously through everyone else because I don't have a dog at my own place. So, let's see. So, how have you How have you dealt with coping with your diagnosis?
Just staying healthy and being physically and spiritually healthy, and trying to realize that there's a bigger reason behind all of it, and none of it is meaningless, and and I always knew I'd find redemption, and these days it's definitely you know normal, unlike it was a few years back. So uh, and without that struggle, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I treat it as a gift and as a challenge that I have overcome, and I just knew it. There was a purpose behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take our first break. This is Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with Patrick. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Our Own Voice is intended to humanize the misunderstood, highly stigmatized topic of mental illness by showing that it's possible and common to live well with a mental health condition. So, Patrick, let me ask you first off, how was your college experience? And what kind of stigma do you know that you faced?
Um, well, I was diagnosed spring of senior year, and had a lot of issues. Like I had this fear of hell, and the voice. I probably, if we get into it later, talk about like the story of what happened.
Okay.
Um,
Well, you could share that right now if you want.
uh, yeah. So senior year, I just like kind of had this pressure of like going away to college, and and trying to fit in, and being like being like in with the in crowd. And I was you talk about singing, which is kind of funny. Like what happened was, like, I was with my band, and I like sang for the first time, like you're letting go, man. And like it almost like I crossed over to another level in my head, and it was so intense. I thought it was like a secret crossover that everyone goes through when they come over into an adult. And I'm like thinking, like, my friend Hal knows too. And so it's like struggling with like this secret, like crossing over social fitting in thing in your mind. It was really intense. And then 3 days later, a voice in my head told me that I was going to hell. So that brought freaked me out big time, and the terror was with me for a long time from that. And so I was institutionalized several times. That summer was rough. I was beating myself up like in the streets, and the worst occasion, I was in my room and I beat myself bloody, and had I went to school the next day, and because it was like the voice was telling me, you got to save yourself. 'Cause this is how you get back into heaven after going to hell. It was like, that was like a few days.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, it's kind of jumbled.
That's all right.
But yeah, that summer was crazy, and I was expected to work, and I was like, at work I was all friggin' just out of it. I was working for my dad at his warehouse, and that wasn't, I wasn't really functional there. And then having to go into college after all that trauma with heavy meds. I was laying in bed all day, like all summer, like, for the most part, having this terror in my heart. And so obviously they wouldn't let me go to KU, which I took pretty hard at the time. And then I had to so I went to Neiman University, but I was like laying in bed all day, and I didn't even go to class, and so I failed all my classes there. So I was like a year behind in college pretty much, or year and a half behind for a while. So, and there were a couple, so the first couple semesters were pretty rough. Transferred over to Wichita State, and it got better. And speaking of my faith, I got involved with my church community, or with the Neiman Center at Wichita State, which is a Catholic kind of fraternity sorority thing that's all over the country. It's named after Cardinal Newman, who was an English bishop who was kind of big into that sort of thing. And so I found a lot of support there through those friends. Um,
Okay.
a year after the incident, and year and a half later. So that was really the beginning of what really turned out to be good, finding those friends because um, I pledged a fraternity my uh, so, spring of 2012, so the second semester of my first year, and that didn't go well. I mean, it was just anyway. There's a whole story I can get into there, but I pledged with like my best friends from high school, and they were always there too. My best friends from high school, like the ones who stayed in town, we always hung out, and they were, they didn't judge me at all, and they were so awesome. So yeah, so the friends have really helped me, get through it, 'cause, and but yeah, that first year of college was crazy and like
Okay.
late withdrawals, but
So you were dealing with a lot of stress. You were having to work alongside of going to college. You were faced with a lot of tension and stress. That makes sense.
yeah,
So
crazy ideas.
all that just sort of pushed you over the edge probably and
Yeah, I just couldn't. Yeah, I just couldn't feel pleasure. Nothing was fun, you know, and it was rough. It was definitely rough.
you
But
know,
yeah, I clung really uh, strongly to my faith and believed that God had a purpose for it, even though it didn't feel like it most of the time. It felt like God was, leaving me, you know, bare and dry.
yeah.
But that's what happens, you know, and because I was listening to like bishop, like Catholic, theologians and preachers, always talk about how God puts us through this, through suffering to you know to grow, and I don't know, like
Fair enough.
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I've heard that God can put us through difficult times so that we build stronger coping skills,
Yeah.
which is something that I definitely want to get into is your coping skills. But we're coming up to our next break here, so I'm going to say this is Our Own Voice on KSUN Community Radio. We are talking with Patrick about mental illness, and we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
If you would like to learn more about the National Alliance on Mental Illness and how you can get involved in mental health advocacy, please visit our website at NAMI.org.
Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and KSUN Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Now, Patrick, during the break, we talked about some things, and I'd like to have you tell us about your family. Your family's supportive, correct?
Yeah, my family's amazing. My parents have been together for over 40 years, and yeah, I mean they were there, for all of it, and I always had them to, lean on throughout the entire experience. And
Excellent.
yeah, so
And that's good. So, what are some of your coping skills, ways that you cope with your diagnosis?
well, I try to I exercise, try to eat healthy, uh, just be with friends, try to have good whole relationships with people my own age who I can, you know, talk to anytime. I think that's important. And being out and being social, because with my mental illness, it's like the most elite, like, social club. And if you don't get it, like I crossed over when I sang or whatever, then, you're going to hell or something.
Yeah.
So having real natural relationships that exist, in reality, it helps me not overthink, so much about, being like a social misfit or something like that, which is, and just really just letting reality kind of like take its hold, because a lot of my ideas are, they're not real. And so I guess trying to discern that. I mean, taking my meds is definitely crucial. If I didn't take them, I'd be crazy.
Yeah. And now you also do therapy, is that correct?
Yeah, I see a psychologist, and he's really good because he's Catholic too, so so we relate on that level, and so he's great. And yeah, so these days I'm doing really well, because I mean it was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but the first those 5 or 6 years afterward were pretty rough. But yeah, but taking my meds, exercising, eating right, trying to have social relationships, go out and do things. Don't sit around and dwell, because that's what I do. I overthink, and I have false perceptions about what people think of me, or what's going on in my life, and whether I'm succeeding or I'm setting myself up for a big failure. But I tend to think that. I mean, that nothing ever happens. So it's just learning from experience. Learning from what I've gone through, and what what I've observed, and what goes with what I thought, and what I'm learning from experience.
Okay.
Because a lot of that stuff, yeah.
Do you, speaking of coping skills and also leaning towards your faith, do you have some faith-based actions that you do that are help you with your diagnosis, like prayer or meditation or something?
I pray the rosary. I go to mass.
Okay.
Adoration's really helpful, Eucharistic adoration, and which we believe the wafer is Jesus. So we go and
Right.
sit in front of him for a little bit, and just yeah, and just trying to go to confession, talk to priests, and I still hang out with those same people I met in college, the Newman Center crowd, and they're still my friends. And there's a huge expanse of new people in the Catholic young adult circle in Wichita, so they've been really, that's just been really good for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that faith, because we do so much. There's so many activities they have. It's really unbelievable what we got going on here. So that's.
So you're always busy.
Yeah, I mean these days, yeah. In the beginning, I was no friends, lonely, nothing. I had nothing.
And that's hard.
Yeah, it was.
On your mental state.
Yeah, and
Yes, it is.
And it took years for it to finally work out.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, or that's what I would tell people is, if you're in the middle of struggling with it, you just got to keep persevering and know that something's going to work out eventually, because, I just, it's just what God would want if He would give you something like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, so have you ever heard of NAMI?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have, yeah.
When did you first hear about NAMI?
Probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was sort of on your radar, but not really.
Well, I mean, like, what do you mean by on my radar?
You knew about it, but you weren't
Yeah.
seeking out where to go to come to any of our support groups or anything.
Yeah, no, my psychiatrist, Chris Jones over at KU Med, she's been unbelievable, and she's always, said that NAMI's had support groups. I've never gone to one.
Okay.
But yeah, she told me about those. But yeah, but my psychiatrist has been really good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll share more about our support groups and all of our activities coming up with our fourth segment. But let's see, what else can I ask you really fast? Do you have a hero or heroine in your life?
Yeah, probably Sir Thomas More, who was he was have you seen A Man for All Seasons? He was the politician that wouldn't go along with Henry VIII's divorce, and he's my confirmation saint, and I think he's been crucial in getting me through all this.
Okay, well, this is Our Own Voice on KSN Community Radio. We are going to take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to Our Own Voice, a partnership in mental health awareness in cooperation with NAMI Wichita and Kaysen Community Radio. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So, Kara, what information about NAMI can you give us and our listeners?
Yes, David, to learn more about NAMI Wichita and how you can get involved with the mental health community, contact our message line at 316 686 1373, or you can email us at info@namiwichita.org. That's info@namiwichita.org. You can leave us a message and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. You can also visit our web and Facebook pages. Our website is namiwichita.org, and our Facebook is facebook.com/namiwichitaKS.
Excellent. What else do you have for us?
Well, NAMI has lots of activities going on, from various classes to meetings. The first Tuesday of the month is our affiliate education meeting at 7 p.m., where we often have amazing guest speakers share with us happenings in mental health. On the third Tuesday of the month, we have Ask the Doctor Hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., followed by our support groups for family and persons with a lived experience in mental health. And on the fourth Tuesday, we meet at College Hill United Methodist Church for a Care and Share support group for those persons living with mental illness and their family members. The first and third Tuesday, our meetings are at 1010 North Main, the same location as Breakthrough Club and Episcopal Social Services. Again, if you would like to join us or learn more about NAMI Wichita, please contact our message line at 316 686 1373. We hope to hear from you soon.
Excellent. And I want to note that all of our classes, all of our support groups, everything that we do is free of charge. We don't charge for any of that. So to our listeners, if you're interested, don't worry about cost of money or anything. So, all right. Well, Patrick, I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to ask you, what words of hope do you have that you can share with our listeners? I know that can be a stumper of a question, but yeah, words of hope.
Just don't give up, I guess.
Okay, don't give up. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's not, it's not, an easy thing, and it takes time to, to kind of get things back to normal. I mean, especially if you're at your worst. But it just takes dedication and seeing the right people and getting your story out.
Yeah. And that's a key point, I think, that I wanna underscore, is that telling your story actually helps you in a lot of ways, because it gives you a chance to sort of revisit it in your own mind and to understand the happenings and that kind of thing.
Process it.
Yeah, thank you, to process it. Would you agree then?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
So, let's see, what other things can I ask for you?
I actually have a quote
Okay.
for our listeners, and
Okay.
we were talking about it during the break, but
Yes.
the mind, how it can be so complex, but I think what we have to do as people, we have to make everything in life as simple as possible. So I saw this quote the other day, and it said, "I was told earlier, you spend your entire life in your head, make sure that it's a comfortable place."
Yes, excellent. Exactly. So if you are not comfortable in your head, then you need to find a way to be comfortable in your head. Would you agree, Kara?
Of course. A healthy mindscape is very vital
Yeah.
to living your best life. You can't overthink things, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, speaking of overthinking, what is some advice for people who tend to overthink?
You just gotta be able to recognize what's worth, not overthinking. Because all the time when you overthink, it's based on something that you shouldn't be overthinking about. So you gotta discern, what is you know, you just got to be able to drop negative thoughts and, you know, not be, you know, not be dwelling on what you shouldn't be dwelling on, which I struggle with every day. And I'm lucky that I have friends, you know, who are going to tell me, you know, what, you know, how things are. So it's important to have other people in your life to kind of, you know, listen and tell you what they think, because it helps getting another perspective, because, you know, you can't just be trapped in your own ideas. You have to, you know, see how things, you know, are, and they're probably not as scary as you think they are, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for a real quick question for you, you noted that you try to eat healthy and you exercise. What is your favorite junk food?
My favorite junk food.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's all these new chips that are coming out that are like so good, like the pizza flavored Lay's. I've saw them like once, and now they're gone.
Okay. Well,
A lot of this new stuff's really good.
okay.
Like,
Fair
I
enough.
eat too
Well,
much of it.
with that, I'm going to say thank you for joining us for Our Own Voice on Kaysen Community Radio. Thank you to Patrick for talking to us about mental illness, and join us for our next Our Own Voice program.